Wow, MMA is coming in hot this January with all these announcements we've been getting for UFC 285 with the return of John Bones Jones at heavyweight taking on Cyril Gane, then Grasso Shevchenko finally being confirmed, and then this week Dana White dropped the ball with UFC 287. Some big fight announcements there that I'm going to talk about, and then also Tony Ferguson versus Conor McGregor might have been unofficially confirmed for TUF. I'm going to get into that. And I want to give my quick prediction for Grasso versus Shevchenko. Also, Oliveira versus Beniel Dariush may be happening May 6th at UFC 288. First, I want to discuss The Ultimate Fighter, the next season of TUF. Conor McGregor is confirmed to be coaching TUF. That is confirmed. He said he was asked to coach TUF. He's down. So this season of TUF, this series is going to be revived with Conor McGregor. He just needs the right dance partner, not Michael Chandler. Even though that's a great matchup, the buildup won't be good because Chandler's too ass-kissy for Conor McGregor. So I think we got the right dance partner for Conor, and that's Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson responded in his weird tweet. I don't feel like reading this, but I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see it for yourself. But this is what Tony had to say. He's like, I've been asked to coach on TUF against the blah, 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 whatever. Tony just typing up a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but it looks like we might be getting McGregor versus Ferguson for TUF. Even though I hate the matchup, I love McGregor-Chandler, I hate McGregor-Ferguson because Tony is more washed than Conor and is a walking L in the world of MMA, at least the buildup will be nice. And Tony Ferguson, he's a former coach of the Ultimate, or no, not coach, a former student of the Ultimate Fighter. Way back in 2011, he was Team Lesnar. So now full circle, he gets to give back to the next generation and be a coach against Conor McGregor. That would do huge numbers. And these two, they got kind of unfinished business from back in the day, 2017. Conor dodged Tony when Tony was in his prime. I think prime Ferguson would win. Now I think Conor wins, but we know Tony Ferguson, he likes to talk. He likes to talk his shit in the lead up to fights, and Conor McGregor, he will oblige. And I think this season of TUF will be entertaining if we got McGregor versus Ferguson. Tony's gonna lose, but at least he's gonna get that red penny night he's been longing for. Tony's gonna get paid, and then once he gets that payday, hopefully El Kakui can call it a career, right off into the sunset and stop taking all this damage and unnecessary L's. Because right now, he's in that BJ Penn stage of his career right now, honestly. So, whatever. Good matchup for Conor. This is going to be like the Donald Cerrone fight for Conor McGregor because he's going to run through Tony and he's going to have a performance that's going to trick people into thinking that Conor's back in his prime again and that he's at the top of his game again, just like the Cerrone fight tricked a lot of fans, and then we saw what happened in his next two fights. So when he beats Tony, don't get too excited about Conor, although Conor at least getting a win is all that matters, and he can at least be, 2-2 in lightweight instead of, 1-3 in that division. Now moving on to more news. UFC 287 just got confirmed. Some big fights just got announced. So we got the rematch between Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya, and the co-main event, Jorge Masvidal finally took off his track shoes and he's taking on Gilbert Durinho Burns. That's going to be a banger. And then we got Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. And we've already known that Adrian Yanez, and Rob Font are on this card. This should be a good card. I'm not sure where this card is located. It could be in Brooklyn, New York, or maybe Jacksonville, because the UFC always goes to either New York and Brooklyn in April or Jacksonville, Florida. It might be in New York again. I mean, that's where Adesanya and Pereira last fought, but I'm looking forward to this rematch / not looking forward to this rematch because Israel, his legacy is on the line. And I'm a huge Adesanya fanboy. I do not want to see him drop 0-4 to Alex Pereira, but unfortunately that just might happen. Okay, it's been 3 attempts to beat this man. Okay, twice in Glory Kickboxing, Adesanya couldn't get it done. One time in MMA, It was just like the Glory kickboxing rematch. He's winning until he gets finished at the end. It's almost like Pereira is just destined to always beat this guy. But I'd have to think that if these two keep fighting, eventually Adesanya is going to beat him by some luck. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Pereira beats Israel every time, but he definitely is a stylistic kryptonite to Israel Adesanya because of his attributes, you know, his gifts. He's the same height as Israel. He matches his reach. He is the same level of striking as Israel Adesanya because he comes from that kickboxing background. So like Israel, he is a high-level kickboxer who's the same height, same reach, but has a massive power advantage. And he doesn't have to worry about getting in on the inside or getting close to Israel like most of other Israel's opponents, because Israel is usually the taller, longer guy, and he's able to keep that distance, avoid that power. But against Pereira, it's a lot more difficult. And then if Adesanya tries to commit in the exchanges or commit to countering, it leaves himself open to getting caught. So this should be interesting. And Pereira showed that he had an answer for those Adesanya leg kicks. A lot of people are saying that Israel Adesanya might wrestle in this fight, but he already tried like 5 takedowns. 4 of the 5 takedowns were defended from Alex Pereira. So how do you expect this time him trying to wrestle working on Alex Pereira, okay? Israel Adesanya is not an offensive grappler. He's a striker. His defensive grappling is amazing, but he's never developed his offensive grappling game like Robert Whittaker. So even if he tries to defend those takedowns, I think Pereira can defend the takedowns. Alex already took Israel Adesanya down, so I can see him getting takedowns on Israel. This is going to be a tough fight for Adesanya. I picked Israel last time. It kills me to say it. I think Pereira might get it done, but I'm not like one of these casuals who say, oh, Alex Pereira will win easier this time. 2nd round KO. No, it's Israel Adesanya. Pereira still has a tough fight on his hands. And this one might go to a decision where Pereira does a bit more this time. He comes back a bit more improved, and he gets a little bit better at MMA. But Adesanya at least does enough to not get finished, but just isn't as in much control as the last time they fought. Honestly, this rematch, it might this series of fights that Pereira and Israel are having might play out like their Glory fights, but in a different order. Because in Glory, Israel got robbed the first time, and then in the rematch, Israel Adesanya was winning till he got KO'd. This time, the first fight in MMA, Israel was winning till he got KO'd late. So I think this might lead to now Alex winning a controversial decision. That's usually how a lot of rematches are, you know, in MMA, especially as of late. Usually the person who wins by finish the first time, if they win again, it's always like a close decision. So I could see a scenario in this one where it's like Israel Adesanya, he comes back, he does good, but Alex Pereira, he meets him in the middle and he does way better than he did last time. He comes back more prepared, a better performance. Now that he's had that 5 rounds with Israel Adesanya, he's gained that experience and he's getting better and better at MMA. Izzy might not just pick up where he left off, but he'll at least be able to survive and make it to the full distance. But we get a better performance from Alex Pereira. That's my prediction. And I'll say Alex Pereira probably wins by split decision. Another controversial decision, and I'm going to be very salty about it, saying that I thought Israel won. Or who knows, Pereira could KO him again, and sooner. It's possible. It's Alex Pereira with the power he possesses. I do not doubt it. But I smell a decision in this one. But with that being said, I do hope that the last style bender comes back with vengeance, and I hope that 4th time is a charm. But we shall see. And then Burns versus Masvidal. Man, quick turnaround for Gilbert Burns. And finally, Jorge is back. I don't think this is going to end well for Masvidal, man. He's way too inactive. He's very picky about his opponents. And he's on a 2-fight losing streak to Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. And now he's taking on a monster like Gilbert Burns. I mean, how is he going to do any better? I mean, yeah, people will talk about the narrative that, oh, Burns is chinny and Masvidal has the boxing and power, but Gilbert Burns is just more versatile. And Gilbert Burns can also hurt Masvidal on the feet. Masvidal's been chinned by Usman. Gilbert Burns could definitely chin Masvidal. Gilbert Burns could out-grapple Jorge Masvidal. I don't know if he could submit Masvidal, because Masvidal actually is very tough to submit on the ground. And he actually has very good takedown defense, but it's Gilbert Burns. So I favor Gilbert Burns to beat Masvidal. And I'll say that he probably does get a finish against Gilbert or against Jorge. And this might be the last of Jorge Masvidal. You know, once he loses now 4 fights in a row, he'll be completely irrelevant and his stock will drop. And and then I think Gilbert Burns will etch closer to another title shot at 170. Also, it's very unfortunate that we don't get Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. Come on, let's get this ball rolling with that fight. Let's go. And then, okay, we got Charles Oliveira versus Beniel Dariush, May 6th, in the works. This is going to be interesting. This is a matchup that I've been waiting for a long time. They were supposed to fight in 2020, but Oliveira pulled out. Since then, Oliveira went on to become world champion, defended the belt 1 time, and then it would have been a 2nd time if he made weight, but he didn't. And then after he beat Gaethje, he loses to Islam Makhachev, and now everybody is sleeping on New Bronx once again. He went from kind of overrated. I don't want to say he was overrated, but he was really hyped up when he had that championship run. And before the championship run, he was underrated. Now he's underrated again. And Beniel Dariush is finally getting the recognition and respect he deserves, coming off that performance over Mateos Gamrot. And before the Gamrot fight, people were sleeping on Beniel Dariush. So now Beniel, people see him for how good he is. Dariush is that dark horse who for a while no one's been acknowledging till now. And he's kind of in that position where Oliveira was before he became champion. Beniel, like Oliveira, pre-title run, is on like a 7-8 fight win streak. So he's got the momentum going into this matchup. But can he keep it going against Charles Oliveira? People are forgetting how good Oliveira is based off that one bad loss to Islam Makhachev. But it's Islam Makhachev. I picked Charles Oliveira to beat Islam. Shame on me. I should have known better. Although I did know that Islam was a threat, I wasn't one of these people who was saying he was overhyped. I knew that Islam could win, and he did. But now people are like quick to write off Charles Oliveira, but people forget how dangerous he is. You know, Charles Oliveira, I think he holds advantages over Beniel Dariush on the ground. He's got better BJJ, 100%. I think he's faster than Beniel Dariush on the feet. And he's got a wider variety of tools to work with in the striking. He's better with kicks. He's got really effective Muay Thai. He does damage with knees and elbows, something that Beniel has to watch out for. Like, Oliveira could seriously do some damage in the clinch against Beniel Dariush. And honestly, I think on the feet, he's kind of better than Dariush. But not to undermine Dariush's stand-up, Beniel does have good striking. Very awkward striking. And he's confident in his hands. And he's got a killer left hand. Dubronx has a killer right hand. But also has a dangerous left hook as well. Beniel Dariush, make no mistake about it, he is good on the feet, and either one of these guys are capable of hurting each other in the stand-up, which makes this fight very interesting. Oliveira possesses power in his hands, so does Beniel. Both guys are very scrappy, but I think the durability edge goes to Dariush, and I think the wrestling edge goes to Beniel Dariush. But Beniel Dariush, man, he ain't no Islam Makhachev. He doesn't have that same level of dominant wrestling. And his wrestling is not dominant compared to Islam. He won't have that same level of top control, top pressure of Islam. And honestly, I don't think Beniel will even have the same level of composure or defense on the feet that Islam Makhachev had. I don't know if he can he could make Oliveira pay for his reckless style because he could hurt Oliveira in a wild exchange. But even in that same wild exchange, if Oliveira lands first, he could also hurt Beniel. People forget that Drakkar Klose had Beniel Dariush on chicken legs. So I do not rule out the possibility of Oliveira knocking Beniel out. I also don't rule out the possibility of Oliveira submitting Beniel Dariush. Sorry for the voice crack. This is a very 50-50 fight. And it's a fight that I've wanted for some time. It's a fight that's been slept on. People laughed at me for wanting this fight back when Oliveira was on top. Now that he's lost, people are disrespecting Charles. And now the people are actually interested in this fight. So we'll see what happens. But this fight might make Islam look good. It just might make Makhachev look good. Oliveira could bounce back, beat Beniel Dariush. But I won't be surprised if Beniel wins because, Oliveira, he might be a little bit figured out now. And he's taken so much damage, more so than Beniel, getting dropped in so many fights. Oliveira is a little bit chinny, but he has good recovery. But getting chinned against Beniel Dariush might not be such a good idea because Beniel will not be afraid to go to the ground with Charles Oliveira. And Beniel also has good jiu-jitsu. It may not be as good as Charles, but it might be good enough to compete with him on the ground so that when he does hurt Oliveira, he might be able to capitalize, go to the ground, neutralize the subs, and pound Oliveira out or sub him. We will see. As of right now, I don't have an official prediction. I mean, for a lot of these fights, I don't really have an official prediction. So I'm just excited about the matchup. I can't wait. And then, of course, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. It got re-announced today, weirdly enough. Like, now it's really official, but we knew that already, right? But as for a prediction, I'm gonna call an upset here. I'm gonna pick Alexa Grasso to rise to the occasion and beat Valentina Shevchenko. If anyone's gonna do it, apart from Talia, it is this girl, Alexa Grasso. Alexa Grasso is entering her prime. She's in the prime of her career right now. And I just feel like things are falling into place for Alexa, whereas Valentina, I don't want to say she's not in her prime anymore. Valentina is still dangerous as fuck, okay? She's still the best in the world, and this matchup scares me for Alexa Grasso. This is a huge challenge for Alexa because Valentina is well-rounded. She can grapple. She's a great striker, nasty kicks, good Muay Thai, high fight IQ. Valentina is amazing. But I think Alexa Grasso, surprisingly enough, will pose some challenges to Valentina on the feet. I think her boxing is better than Valentina, and I think she's deceptively strong despite being smaller. So I think even if they wind up in the clinch, Grasso could have success in the clinch against Valentina. If Valentina takes Alexa down, which I do think she will, I kind of see Alexa Grasso getting back to her feet against Shevchenko. But even when they're on the ground, Grasso, her ground game is improving, and I think she could hold her own off her back against Valentina. All she has to do is eliminate the kicking game of the bullet, which I believe she can do. And Valentina Shevchenko can be very hesitant sometimes in the stand-up. Against Lauren Murphy, she was waiting a lot, but Murphy does not have the skills that Grasso does. She's not the same level of boxing that Grasso has. She doesn't have the same level of fluidity. Grasso, her stand-up is better than Lauren Murphy. She's a better fighter than Lauren Murphy. And I think at that range game that Valentina is going to try and play with Alexa, I feel like Alexa Grasso can kind of adapt. Valentina will try to make it boring. She'll try to make it a stalemate, pick at Grasso at a range with outside jabs and kicks. But something tells me, man, Alexa Grasso is going to come in very fearless in this fight. She's not really going to be afraid of what Valentina has to offer, and she has nothing to lose, which is going to make Alexa very dangerous in this matchup. And I just feel like she's progressing rapidly every time we see her, whereas Valentina, she's stagnant and she's kind of regressing. And I feel like Alexa's going to kind of have her figured out going into this fight. She's going to pick up on a lot of tendencies and patterns. There's stuff I see in Val that Grasso might be able to exploit. I'm not going to get into in this video. That's a topic for another video, but I'm going to call the Alexa Grasso upset. And I'm going to say, a decision. Although something else won't surprise me. I'll talk about that another time, another day. But yeah, I'm going to pick Alexa Grasso to beat Shevchenko. The upset will happen, and we'll get our first Mexican-born champion in the UFC, but that's a female this time. Brandon Moreno made history for the men. I think Grasso makes history for the women. She's going to make the most of this opportunity. But even if she loses, man, I don't see Alexa Grasso just getting completely blown out of the water by Valentina. I feel like she's actually going to give a really good performance and a really good showing for herself. She's going to show that toughness against Shevchenko. And I think people are going to be very impressed with Alexa and how she does against Valentina, win or lose. But if she comes out on a loss, I don't think it's going to be a bad one. I don't know why. I feel like if she loses, it's not going to be a bad loss. But I'm going to go for the Alexa Grasso upset win. Let me know your thoughts on all these announcements in the comment section down below. What do you think of these matchups? What are your predictions? Like and subscribe, and peace out.